Hey, Sam.
Hey, Jamie.
All right, it's 2 o'clock. I'm going to give about 30 seconds here in case there are any late stragglers receiving the pop-up notification that for this session here today, but I will not dally very long at all. All right, we're starting to see that fill up. 2:01, I'm going to get started here. Thank you very much, Sam. So thank you everybody who's taking the time today to join us. This session here today that we're going to be covering, my team manages the infrastructure for BAASS as well as being an MSP. And during what's happening, COVID-19, we've had so many clients ask us to enable and accelerate and provide work from home access for their employees. And we keep getting asked these common questions of, hey, what do you do yourselves and how do you do it yourselves? That's the intention of this session today, is 30 minutes or less. I just want to go through and explain what it is that BAASS uses internally, and what do we use for our modern office and our work from home. This is intended to be high level. It's going to be an overview of 4 or 5 of the major points and areas of consideration, the common things that I keep getting asked about, and that we can really distill this down into, as well as, in the coming weeks, we're going to have a little more drill down into these areas. So if we're breaking this out into 4 or 5 areas, and we're talking at a high summary level right now, there are going to be subsequent sessions that we're going to give greater drill down into. So if anybody is interested, at the end of this, we will post out what those are. And please, if you're interested in any way, shape, or form, feel free to join. If you have any questions today, anything that you would like to ask, please feel free to use the GoToMeeting in the chat session there to throw out questions. Remington is moderating for us here today from BAASS. She'll throw them over to Sam, who at the end here, I'll ask you, Sam, if they've got everything that come over, maybe there's 1 or 2 or something that are common questions. If there's a lot, we're going to do takeaways, and we'll be getting back to you on those ourselves as well, potentially individually, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you. So I'm going to dive straight into this then. A little bit about myself. My name is Jamie Smith. I am the president of Lanetco. We are the infrastructure and IT division for BAASS. We operate out of the same offices as BAASS and we're a full-fledged MSP and IT support company, but we do all of the infrastructure and IT support for BAASS ourselves, including management of things such as our BAASS cloud and hosting. Joining me here today is going to be Sam Cangialosi. Sam's the ops manager for BAASS. Sam, a little bit about yourself.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Jamie. My name is Sam Cangialosi. I'm the Canadian operations manager. My role at BAASS is to oversee the Sage 300 projects from coast to coast right across Canada. That consists of about 240 projects involving about 140 plus staff.
Okay. So, and Sam, the reason I'm asking to have you here as well, my understanding, you've got this team of consultants. You're concerned about people coast to coast. You have groups within ours. It's like 140 plus staff here. We're talking about from Halifax to Moncton to the Ontario offices to the Manitoba office to Alberta to British Columbia. I'm sure there's something that I'm going to be forgetting in there, and I apologize for missing somebody. But essentially, we've got marketing to sales to ops, out to admin, dev, all these members and all these groups, and you've got concern and a vested interest in making these things work and them be able to communicate. And that's why I've asked you, and I appreciate your time here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy, for sure.
All right. So all of this kind of started about March 16th. That Monday was kind of when we started getting this rush of work from home requests. Lanetco is an MSP with our suite of customers. We had this sudden rush and requests to deploy work from home for our customers. There was a 3-week period there from about the 16th to April the 4th where we were asked to do this work from home enablement for literally hundreds of employees across multiple locations all over the place. People were asking, how do we get people to work from home? We've worked with these customers to set up solutions. And during that process, it really is a bunch of common questions that we get asked, and we can really distill it down into certain groups. I mean, those are going to be, hey, the people are now working from home. They need hardware, but laptops are sold out. What do we do? Hey, we're going to have them work from their personal computers, but how do we make sure that they're secure? So when they're coming back in the office, things are fine. We need to be able to access our company files, like our server and our file shares. How do they get onto our, our G drive? That's our finance. How does this work? Wait a second. We've got ERP. We've got Sage 300. How do we get them access to this? How do they communicate with each other from outside of the office? How do they use the phone system? My goodness, how do we stay in touch with each other? So, at that time, my side, we have to work fast and furious. We've got a bunch of people that we're trying to throw this out there for, and people are making hasty decisions based upon what they need to do at that moment. At this time, while we had conversations about best practice at that time, we kind of had to force through what was happening. Now we have that circle back to customer base and say, hey, what was done in the short term may not necessarily be what you want to do in the long term. Let's recircle back, let's re-engage, let's find out what is it that we can consider to be best practice. And again, this is where we keep getting asked, well, what do you guys do? Not just what are the best practices, but what do you BAASS do yourselves? So Sam, this is where I'm going to ask you to help me out here. What I want to talk about here today is how BAASS transformed, or how did they even enable, and when did they start doing this remote workplace, this modern workforce, this work from home. And this is what we want to discuss today. We're going to use BAASS as an illustration of the example of, what did we say that people should be doing, and what do we actually do ourselves? These really are going to be the same things. There's nothing that we are doing that is not standard. There's nothing that we are doing that is going to be vertical to us. These are really, there's a commonality here that everybody should be able to do as well. So we're going to continue on here with what is it? What are the concepts that, what is it that we did, and what are those concepts, and how can you yourselves use them? So Sam, you've got these hundreds of people all across Canada, this requirement to work from home. I've listed out here, commonly asked items for work from home. I think most of these things align with what BAASS would require, but just to get straight to the question, what are the tools, what are the items, what are the things that you believe that you need and BAASS needs, and what are the priority levels for to be able to work from home?
Yeah, Jamie, I don't think we're like anyone else. Internally, we use Sage 300 and Sage CRM as our PSA tool. We have file shares, templates, and forms. And again, this is not uncommon in the industry, and probably what our clients are seeing. One of our biggest things are communication tools, our phone system, our chat, email, meetings is very important for us as well, both internal and external, and as well hardware.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that really is, from a technology standpoint, these are really common requirements that we see universally across all customers. Everybody needs these. We break it out into, when I'm having conversations with customers, I break these into 4 distinct areas. I talk about line of business applications, so your ERP, your CRM. I talk about file shares, so how do we get access to our files? I talk about the communication tools, and then we talk about the hardware. So let's go through these items one at a time, and let's see what did BAASS use to fill and meet each one of these areas. Let's show ERP, let's show file shares, and let's show communication tools. On the ERP side of it, I refer to these as line of business applications. Sam, I know this is the case, but let's restate the obvious. You use Sage products, right? We use Sage 300, we use Sage CRM.
That's right. Yeah, so we do use Sage 300 ourselves. Sage CRM, it's used as our professional automation services tool, which allows us to track customers, marketing, sales, service, our CCMs, or our customer care membership plans, as well as tickets. We basically use it for everything that runs the organization.
Okay, so knowing that we have to have these tools, how do we get everyone access to these tools now that no one is in the office anymore? And this is what I would like to explain. So we're using Sage 300, we're using Sage CRM. At BAASS, we use our own cloud solution, the same one that we sell out to customers, the same one that we recommend out, but in its most basic format, rather than calling it a cloud solution or adding some complexity to it, let's call it what it is. It's Windows Remote Desktop Services. These are the same things, Windows servers, people used to call it terminal server, things like that. We deploy Sage 300 via that. We use remote desktop services. We've used it as a standard within our office as the method of deployment forever, many years now. So there's no change on our end. It's not like we had to flip to that in a rush to get this done. Any office, any location, anybody who has the requirement and need to do that would use remote desktop server to connect into our Sage 300. Obviously, like where we're hosting it, how we're hosting it, what's deployed, that's the technical aspect. I won't get into that here and now, but this is how we do it. And definitely, this is how I think I would recommend everybody do it, even if they didn't think they had the requirement at the beginning. It's one of those items, hey, do we install our applications on our PCs and on our network, or do we go via remote desktop server? And we say, hey, if you do it via remote desktop services, you'll have access anywhere at any time, but you've got to incur that expense. Sam, we've given everybody access to their ERP and CRM. Is there any issue that you see with them, or is anybody complaining, or is there anything that comes to mind, connecting or anything like that? Pretty much everything here is going to be turnkey. There's no local installs, and we would recommend, when I say to you, or I recommend, hey, customers should be deploying their ERP via RDS. Am I saying anything wrong there?
No, that's our recommendation, Jamie. So that's correct.
Okay, so when this entire thing happened, if you didn't already have remote desktop server, the most common request or question was, how do I get access for my ERP? How do I get people into it? And what was it? It was enabling people to remote into their desktops from home. I mean, that's what had to be done at this point. In a permanent and long-term method, what I would say to you, everybody here should, if you're not already, go speak to your IT people, speak to your BAASS account manager if you're looking at for hosted, but speak to them, your IT people, about remote desktop server so that you can get your Sage 300 hosted and delivered out to you, and people can work from anywhere at any time, as long as they have an internet connection. All right. So knowing that's LOBA, or line of business application, the next one we had were file shares and file access. Sam, your staff has access to their ERP and CRM via remote desktop services. The next item for me to touch upon here is file shares in collaboration on those file shares and file access. I think what I'm listing out here are pretty much the common stuff that you would have a need for, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We don't use anything different than anyone else, Jamie. We obviously use files like Word, Excel, PDF documents, basically to service our marketing, sales, project management team, just like everyone else, Jamie.
Okay, so that being said, I think that's a common denominator amongst everybody. Most people have them on file servers of the office. So what are we doing? We've implemented, historically what we use is a cloud-based file share solution. And what we use, there's a few different out there, and you can go use Dropbox, Box.com, things like that. We use Microsoft Teams. That's what we use here for BAASS. We use Microsoft Teams ourselves for file shares. It's just another fancy word for Office 365. You add in a license, and people then have access into the file share tool. Sam, does everyone have access to the files they need while working from home using something like this?
Yeah, what we've done, Jamie, is we've deployed Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, Office 365 out to the client base or to our customer base, internally. And we basically installed Teams on everyone's laptop. So basically anywhere there's an internet connection, our staff has access to the company files. So what you see on the screen there, that slide there, is just a screenshot of Microsoft Office and Teams right there.
Okay, that's just an example of what a window there looks at. We're acting out maybe some customer information, but what we're doing here is we're going by, grouping by department as an example, clients, sales, general ops, things like that. This one here is Lanetco specific, but BAASS is going to be the exact same way. And we use Teams to replace the file servers. We create channels, which are like map drives for departments. You put your files in there, and then everybody's able to access them anywhere as long as you have an internet connection and the client installed, which they do. And then people can collaborate on documents and even edit them in real time. We've done that before, Excel sheets, Word documents, you're in one cell and I'm in another. Everybody's able to use Teams and collaborate and get access to these file shares from pretty much anywhere. For the most part, customers, if you don't already have something like this in place, how are you accessing it? The most common methods that we were asked in that, March 16th to April the 4th, rapid deployment, get us access into this, is People are remoting into their PCs to get access to those, just like they are their ERP, or they're being asked to install some form of VPN from a computer back into their office so they can pull files over the internet. Those
Right.
are two a little bit inefficient methods. What I would strongly suggest to you is anybody who, yeah, if you haven't done it already, and look, I'm not here to shill one specific product. We use Microsoft Teams. I think it's fantastic. It integrates with all the things that we want. Pick your poison, but look for a cloud-based file share tool, and these are certainly not tremendously expensive. So we have our line of business applications. We know that those are covered via remote desktop. We got our file shares. We've got that via Microsoft Teams. What was the next one that we need to cover? It was communication. So we've got communication tools. When I say communication tools, what I'm talking about it really is phone, chat, IM, video conferencing. And then of course there's internal versus external. How do we view those? Is it the same tools or not? Sam, when I mentioned these areas and these categories, what are the concerns or what are some of the items that you want to look for in communication tools?
Yeah, with communication tools obviously hits home, Jamie. For us, the biggest concern is to be able to provide support to our customers and mainly being able to answer the phones, the operator lines. One of the other things is to have face-to-face meetings, especially during this period when we have 100% of our staff who's actually working from home. We're a very fast-paced, detail-oriented organization, and access to staff and the rapidness is extremely important to us. Again, just touch on that. Internal office meetings, how do we host them? External customer meetings, how do we host them? And keeping in mind we don't want to compromise security. So security is always going to be top of mind for us.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So these items, knowing that these are the areas that wanted to be covered, what we have done here, what has BAASS done, and what have they implemented? So, I mean, looking at it first from the phone system, we use a VoIP PBX. We use a VoIP phone system. So we're able to pick up our phone and our calls using that and then using the internet. While, makes things way easier versus having just an on-prem PBX that we don't have access into. So I definitely would strongly recommend if you've got an on-premise phone system now, or if you have something, you should look at hosted phone systems and VoIP PBX. I would definitely recommend that to anybody. For chat, why is that important? So, I mean, Sam, we use this all the time for internal communications, replacing email, right? I mean, rather than just flooding the inbox, we've got chat channels between groups, departments, or individuals where you can just ping stuff off back and forth, leaving emails for that business related and customer facing, etc. So we definitely want to, what are we using? We use the same thing that we use for the file share, which is Microsoft Teams. On that previous slide where it showed out the file shares, on the left side, there is a chat button. You click on that and it shows all the users that you've got consistent and constant chats going on within your office. So that's definitely what we use for our chat messaging is Teams. For video conferencing, internal stuff, right, we're using Microsoft Teams. It's just as easy to pull up that chat, ping over to Sam. Hey, Sam, are you able to take a call right now? Boom. And when I say call, I don't call you anymore. I mean, neither of us uses that. We're doing video conferencing more now than ever, simply because we've been forced to do it here now with the work from home. And then we have the video conferencing, communication, the phone calls and conferences that we do that are customer facing. And for that, what we use is GoToMeeting. So we use GoToMeeting for that. It provides us with a video conferencing, super easy. I mean, people talk about whether it's Zoom or whatever. I'm not here to specifically say one product, but I can tell you this. For us, GoToMeeting with just the universal usage, it's universally known. Everybody knows how to use it. And the built-in conference rooms that we've got for it, the licensing model was really efficient for us as well. So for customer-facing stuff, just like we're doing this webinar right now, it's about to go to webinar. That's our preferred platform. So we've got here line of business applications via remote desktop services. We got files and file shares via Microsoft Teams. We've got our communication partially via Teams, VoIP phone system, and GoToMeeting. The last one on that list was hardware, but I'm going to skip over hardware a little bit, simply because right now, we provide laptops out to all staff. So That being said, that's our solution for that. I would strongly suggest to everybody in these conversations that I'm having now is don't think old way, go with laptops. Don't think about desktop PCs. When you're doing your hardware refreshes, everybody should be using laptops. And that way people have the ability to pick up and take their physical device. And that way we own the communication method. The only thing that's missing is the internet. But as an infrastructure and IT support person, I'm supposed to provide the tools that provide that security. And that's what's really important here. And that's why for this slide, I can't stress enough. Really, we want to make sure that when you're doing and implementing these things, there are security options that are not necessarily mandatory that really should be mandatory. If you're going to use something like remote desktop services, there should be some form of two-factor authentication and really difficult passwords and geo-blocking or IP whitelisting or these technical things that mean that, hey, you are the only people that can get in. We definitely want to do that. When you're doing email and Office 365, Microsoft Teams, put in two-factor authentication. These are the items. Use password complexity. I can't stress enough. Speak to your IT people. These are recommendations, but really they should be mandatory. I would strongly suggest, and I do for all the people that I've been talking to throughout this entire process, put in the infrastructure, or put in the security portion of it. You don't want to miss out on that because the last thing you want is, in industry vertical news that I subscribe to and get these alerts, the attempts in hacking are up 400% right now during this COVID-19. And so, bad actors are still trying to get in there and they're working hot and feverishly and, furiously trying to get in and find ways to get in right now. And people are ad hocing solutions for remote access. Now is not the time to not concentrate on security. All right, so Sam, we've covered these areas. What we're looking at is for the line of business applications, which is your Sage 300 and your CRM. We've got those via remote desktop services are hosted.
Yep.
For your file shares, your email, your chat, video conferencing internally, that's your Office 365, your Microsoft Teams. For customer-facing meetings, for webinars, sales meetings with customers, etc., we use GoToMeeting. We've got a hosted PBX, or we use VoIP ourselves. And obviously trying to get these things as secure as possible. It really is as simple as breaking it down into these three areas. And then what I would say for people when they're looking at these, don't try to overcomplicate it. Don't try to say, well, if I can't do it all, I'm not going to do anything. No, look at what you want to do for your business. What do you want your business to look like in 2021? What do you want it to look like in 2022? Put these in break these down into bite-sized chunks, like I'm trying to simplify here. Look at your line of business applications as one piece. Look at your file shares as another. See if you can bring some of these things together, such as file shares, email, and chat, which you can through Office 365 and MS Teams, all into one area. Look at a hosted PBX. Do these in steps, baby steps. If you do one of these today and another one in 6 months, before you know it, just like with BAASS here, all of our stuff is going to be like that. And this was a kind of a saving grace for us in these very tough and difficult times when we had to rapidly think, okay, well, hey, it's Monday. Everybody's going to be working from home from now on. How do you not miss a beat? And that's what we're here to talk about and try to express to you that, do these same things. You should be able to do this as well.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever too late, right, Jamie?
It is never too late. It is never too late to start. And obviously now it's the time to start, and people are circling back to, they've done whatever they needed to do. If they don't already have these things in place, now how can they shore them up? And what can they do realistically? Go back to your IT folks, see what that is. So again, if there was any questions there, I'm hoping anything that was put over there was sent over to you, Sam, and you can let me know.
Yep. There's one here, Jamie. Question is, how long does it take to roll out Microsoft Teams?
How long does it take to Microsoft Teams? So let's break Teams down into what it really is. What are the basics of Teams? Teams is really, it's Office 365, and what they've done is they've put, chat, video, and file sharing all into one thing, into one interface for you to be able to use. So I've seen it go here, 60-person organization who just wants to put Teams out for chat and communication, chat and video communication amongst employees, and you can rapidly deploy that, install, and have people using it with very little training. There are videos online to help ease that out, and you can roll that out in days or a week. It really is very, very fast. File sharing is a little bit different. That's a little bit more complicated because you can do it a couple of different, or you can do it a few different ways, but I'll boil it down into two basic ways. The first one is going to be, I'm just going to take my file shares and move them in kind to Teams. And if you do it like that, that ingestion is fairly rapid. Generally speaking, in about a week, you can get these things uploaded and have people start using it. You still have to train, give them some guidance on how to use it, but it's fairly easy. But I would strongly suggest to you, don't just ingest the entire contents of your servers and file servers and map drives. I have yet to see a company that's super happy with their file and folder structure and permissions. It's just, take that as an opportunity, to redesign and bring them in an orderly fashion. That's what I would suggest. So that actually takes weeks to do, that second portion. So hey, you can do it super fast, week 2 you're done, or you can push this out a lot. I'm hoping I'm answering that right.
Yeah, and Jamie, we did the same thing, so
spot
on. Thank you. Next question here is, we are a small organization. Does it make sense to deploy all of this to the cloud, or do we house it internally?
So when you say we're a small organization, it makes sense to deploy all of this into the cloud. Let's define what is all of this. Is it, Microsoft Teams? We just hit on that. Definitely, I think you should be doing that. Nobody should not be doing a cloud-based file sharing. Get rid of your file servers, throw this in there, allow your collaboration, allow better security, allow work from everywhere. Definitely, you should be doing it. For your phone system, if that's all of this, definitely get rid of your on-premise PBX. Go to a VoIP phone system if you haven't already. Allow people to use their computers and headsets as phones. Work from anywhere. Have the soft phone on your mobile device. So definitely, I would say that. For your Sage 300, just like we noted in the earlier slide, Sam, for ourselves, I strongly suggest people deploy out their line of business apps in some method that's connectable via the internet. And to me, I would use remote desktop services. If you haven't done it already, go talk to your IT people. So yeah, I mean, everybody can do this. This is really, it's independent of the size of your organization. Everybody really should be doing this.
All right, there are a few more questions, but we'll take one more. There are so many different options when looking at collaboration tools. How do I select the right tool?
All right, so how do you select the right tool for that? I mean, the first thing you always have to do is define what is the problem you're trying to solve. What is it that you're trying to do that you need a solution for? And then you go to your experts. Go back to your IT people, go back to your advisor, whoever it is that you use as your body of experts that you consult with, and ask them, what do they recommend? And just as importantly, what do they use? I mean, the reason that I'm going to recommend for collaboration tool Microsoft Teams is what we use. We find it's very, it's very comprehensive. This is what we use, and we want to, we serve what we eat.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. Okay, so I mean, I've taken now here, as I said, I wanted to keep this to 30 minutes so that everybody can get back to their normal work days. Nobody wants to see us prattle on about these items. There are more questions out there, Sam. Anybody else who sent anything in, we will definitely get those answered back. I want to touch on future stuff. As I said at the very beginning, this was very high level. We just wanted to go over what does BAASS do for their line of business applications, remote desktop servers? What do they use for their file shares? Teams. What do they use for communications? We use Teams and GoToMeeting. And then for hardware or /security, I mean, we provide our own laptops to people, and the security is really super important. It's really not a recommendation. It should be a must. But if you're looking for more information, a little bit more of a deep dive into these, as much of a deep dive as you can get in 30 minutes, we're going to have some subsequent sessions on this exact same stuff. What do we got here? Next week on Wednesday, we've got one on security, 12 ways to help to ensure you are secure. This is done by James Liutri, our VP of Professional Services. So he's going to be doing more information, or providing out more information in a 30-40 minute session there about additional ways that you can secure your networks and access. On Friday, I'm going to be doing another session on the hosted Sage 300. So if you're interested at all in any way, shape, or form about hearing like how does that work, how do you connect in? And what are the most common questions? I mean, that's what I try to go with here. What are the common questions I get asked when people are asking me, hey, how does this work? I will go through that on Friday of next week as well. And hopefully the week after, we'll be scheduling out something else for Microsoft Teams so that we can get through those. Beyond that, I'd really like to thank everybody who joined us in here today. If you require further information or we didn't get to something, you want something, please email advisors@baass.com. If you're looking, you can also contact us through www.baass.com/contact us. And I'm available at jsmith@lanetco.ca. Sam, I really appreciate you taking the time for me today to go through this. I appreciate everybody's time. I think we are going to end on that note. And thank you very much, everyone who joined us. Remington, I am going to pass this back to you.
Thanks a lot, Jamie.
Thank you, Sam.
That being said, I'd like to thank everyone again for taking time out of their busy days, as well as Jamie and Sam for presenting today. A form will appear once the webinar has ended for you to enter any additional questions. This form will also be available in the email sent out with the webinar recording. We hope that everyone found this webinar beneficial, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.